Simple tables are a great way to compile and organize your data. They let you create a grid in which you can edit each section individually. This is great for any chart you might have. Like in this example, it's a chart showing which monsters spawn each round. You can keep them simple like this, or use some of the settings to add some more colors and inline images to each of the sections. Let's walk through them. First of all, the basic table. In position and size, you can set the height and width of the entire table. The number of cells won't change when you change the height and width. They'll just stretch to accommodate the new setting. You can choose how many rows and columns appear under the Table Cells section. At the top, they have a section for the number of columns and the number of rows you want. For example, let's add a row. You'll notice two things. The total space our table takes up didn't change. The existing rows shrunk to make room for the new one. And secondly, you'll notice there was a new line added to this grid here. Each of these buttons contains a field that holds the data for the corresponding cell. So for the new row that was added, we can add the data in there. And it's the same kind of operation when you add a column. So let's set it from 3 columns to 4. And we'll add our toad to this chart. If you want to keep your simple tables super simple, that's all you need to do. But let's continue and look at some options. First of all, the column sizing. By default, it's set to equal, but you can use the manual option to set each column's width manually. Each column's width is going to be entered separated by a comma. So, if we make all these 50, and it adjusts accordingly. But look, that created an error. What happened? Well, if the total sum of all your columns doesn't match exactly the width you set in the position and size sections, you'll receive that error. So if we set this to 200, that error will go away. Let's go ahead and revert that to equal for now. Note that some of our text automatically shrunk to fit the new size. To have your tables do this, look under Text Formatting. Here, you select the default style, and then what made the text shrink is using Fit to Size. You may also want to check on your horizontal and vertical alignment. By default, they align to the left and to the top, and so I set these to center and middle. But be aware that this section refers to the default text for all cells on your simple table. Now, let's look at some more complicated features for the simple table. First of all, you'll notice some images in here. A simple table can't hold images by default, but it does accept text, meaning we can use our images as inline icons. So, once you have your images set up as icons, simply find them in the Icons dropdown, copy them to your clipboard, and paste them in the corresponding section. This is an easy way to create a grid of images using the simple table. Now, in the previous example, all the text in our table was the same color and size. You'll notice here I have some white text, blue text, and a small letter A. I'm managing these with style tags. Here, table is my style, and I'm using the tag to override the fill to white, so the number 2 shows up white. The 3 shows up blue, and then I change the whole style of the letter A to body. So using inline images and style tags, you can get a little more flexibility out of your table. Now, let's take a look at your formatting options. For now, let's shut off all the strokes. Your cell margin is how much space you have in between your cells. In this case, it's the red sections you see. If I adjust the cell margin, those red sections will change. Your cell padding is an additional area of margin within your cell. So in this case, on the inside of the red. Note that if you set your padding too large, you may be cutting off part of your content, so adjust it accordingly. You can choose whether or not to enable or disable color cells. It comes off by default. Like any color selection, use the color selector to choose your color and set the opacity you like. There's a handful of strokes and borders within a table. You can control the width of those with the stroke width field. Let's begin with the row separators. Those are the horizontal divisions. The color separators are the vertical divisions. The table border is around the outside of the table, and the cell border is around each individual cell. Be aware that depending on what you have set for the stroke width, the cell margin, and cell padding, based on those settings, you might unintentionally create some lines in your design. So just be aware of that and adjust the fields accordingly. You can also adjust the stroke color with the color selector here. And that's all there is to know about simple tables. Thank you for watching this Component.Studio 2 tutorial. If you have questions or comments, please leave them below here on the YouTube video. Join us at our Component.Studio Facebook group, or join the Game Crafter community on Discord. Until next time, I'm Andrew Voigt, helping you make the best games you can.